You hear the word liability thrown around all the time, right? From corporate balance sheets to your own credit card statement. But what does that word really mean? Today, we're going to get the official professional answer. And you know what? It's probably a lot simpler than you think. I mean, we all know what it feels like to owe something, a car payment, a student loan, you name it. But what's the official by-the-book definition? Well, it turns out the answer is incredibly precise, and once you get it, it becomes this super powerful tool for understanding the world of finance. So, to get this right, we're not just gonna guess. Nope, we're going straight to the source, the International Valuation Standards. This is basically the official rule book, and it gives us a definition that's crystal clear. And here it is, the present obligation to transfer an economic benefit. Just 8 words, but trust me, every single one of them is doing some heavy lifting. So let's take a closer look and figure out what they actually mean. Okay, I know, that sounds a little technical, maybe a bit dry, but really it's just a simple 2-part test. So let's look at the first part, shall we? Let's start with the first half of that definition, because it's really the first essential characteristic of any liability. It all kicks off with this idea of a present obligation. Notice how specific the standard is here? It doesn't just say an obligation. It says a present obligation. That one little word is the key to the whole thing. So what does it mean? Yeah, this is the big question, right? What's the difference between an obligation that's present and one that's just, a possibility for the future? Getting this distinction right is absolutely everything. And this right here lays it out perfectly. A present obligation is something that exists today because of an event that happened in the past. For example, if you signed a loan agreement yesterday, that created a legal duty you have right now. But just planning to take out a loan next week, that doesn't count. It's all about a current responsibility, not something you might do down the road. Okay, so we've got part 1 down, we have an obligation, and it exists right now. So let's move on to the second essential piece and see how this builds. That obligation has to actually require you to do something. And this is the second half of our test. See, an obligation isn't just a feeling, it legally requires you to transfer an economic benefit, something of value, over to somebody else. Which, of course, leads us to the final piece of this puzzle. What in the world counts as an economic benefit that you have to transfer? Well, as you can see here, it can be pretty much anything of value. It could be cold, hard cash, it could be an asset like a car or a building, it could even be performing a service. The core idea is that to settle the obligation, value has to flow away from you. That's how the debt gets cleared. And there you have it, the whole big, complicated sounding concept of a liability, while it really just boils down to a straightforward 2-part test. It's like a checklist you can use to identify any liability you come across. So, this is the crucial takeaway. When you're trying to figure out if something is a liability, you just ask these 2 questions. First, did a past event create a duty that exists right now? And second, does settling that duty mean I have to give up something of value? If the answer is yes to both, boom, you found yourself a liability. Okay, so now that we get the 2 key parts, let's put them back together and take one more look at that original definition. See how much clearer this is now? The present obligation. That's a duty existing today because of something that already happened. To transfer an economic benefit. That's giving up cash, assets, or services to settle it. Each part now has a solid, practical meaning. And that's really it. You now have a working, professional-grade understanding of one of the most fundamental concepts in finance. It's not just some vague idea of owing something anymore. It's a precise 2-part test. So I'll leave you with this thought. Using this new 2-part test, what liabilities can you spot around you? Think about things like gift cards, or prepaid subscriptions, or even just a simple IOU. How many of them actually pass the test? You might just be surprised by what you find.